Franco Colapinto, Flavio Briatore, and Alpine gave us a lesson in structure and resilience. When we look at the overall performance of the team between Australia and China, we can see a significant improvement when it came to Franco Colapinto in relation to Pierre Gasly. So what happened? How did Australia start? Well, it did not start too well. Colapinto was a little bit over a second of Pierre Gasly. Now, that's not marginal setup difference. What that is a car that is not communicating with its driver. And when you are that far off your teammate, it means one of three things. Number one, you don't understand the car. Number two, the car doesn't suit you. Number three, there must be a structural problem. So how did Colapinto react to being that far off? Well, he did not hide behind excuses. He said the car was difficult, the balance was not right, and he could not lean on the rear. And that's key language, because when he talks about balance, what he's talking about is confidence. In Formula One, no balance, no confidence in the car. You cannot push the car to its limit. So Australia did not look too good for Colapinto. So then what happened in China the following week? Shanghai didn't start so well either. Gasly looked great, but Colapinto was still chasing. The deficit was between 6 to 7 tenths. Still significant, and this is a red flag. In this moment of Colapinto's career, first full year with Alpine and F1 is crucial. And when you have that much gap, there is a lot of pressure. But then qualifying happened, and that was the pivot for the team. The gap compressed dramatically, down to a few tenths between teammates. In Q1 and Q2 combined metrics, Colapinto was about 2 to 3 tenths off Gasly's pace window. That's a huge shift in one weekend. In Formula One, gaining 7 tenths on your teammate that quick is not improvement. It's recalibration. You don't find 7 tenths just by trying harder. You find that when the setup finally aligns with your driving style. The rear stability improves, the car gives you more predictable rotation. And this is when structure matters. The team moment. When Colapinto said there was something not quite right with the car, the team gathered around him, engineers, data review, setup changes. Gasly, what a teammate. His feedback, communication, and collaboration with Franco were key in team alignment. And that matters because this wasn't ego-driven. This was structural problem solving. And once the car stabilized, the driving inputs change. More commitment on entry, less correction mid-corner, earlier throttle on exit. In F1, in this case, confidence is not emotional, it's mechanical. So why reducing the gap matters? Well, let's contextualize it. We went from a little bit over a second in Australia to a few tenths off in quali in China, and this is relative to your teammate. In F1, your teammate is your benchmark. And this drop is a compression curve, and compression under pressure is what separates Formula One drivers from prospects. Anyone can look good when momentum is positive. But what really matters is how quickly you reduce the delta when exposed. And Colapinto reduced it fast. So now Briatore. As we know, Briatore is not sentimental. He is transactional. He believes in pressure. And historically, he doesn't soften when a driver struggles. But after that quali in China, the hog that he gave Colapinto, that was not optics. That was acknowledgement. Briatore doesn't care about the narrative. He cares about the response. And what he saw in Colapinto was a driver that identified a performance issue, worked within the structure, and compressed the gap. And most importantly, he did not emotionally implode. To Briatore, that's currency. That's money. Money, money, money. The real story. So the real story is not that Colapinto was faster. The real story is that he adapted quickly. When a driver says the car is difficult, that can go one of two ways: victim mentality or technical clarity. In China, that was clarity. The team responded, the car improved, and the gap shrank. Now, suddenly, the dynamic changed. We go from authoritarian boss and driver to a pressure architect and resilient asset. If the gap had stayed at 1 second, woof, poor Colapinto. The narrative becomes dangerous, confidence erodes, external noises grow, and therefore internal politics start. But instead, none of that happened. Instead, the delta shrank, and that changed trajectory. Because now the conversation is not, is Colapinto ready? The conversation is, how quickly is he gonna get to Gasly's level? Let's remember last year how they ended. It was pretty competitive. So let's go through our final thought. Formula One doesn't test talent first. It tests resilience. Australia exposed the gap, China compressed it. And when the most demanding man in the paddock puts his arm around you in public, that means you passed the first psychological exam of 2026, not with speed, but with response, improving. Because in Formula One, response time, technically and mentally, is everything. And that's a racing mind.